Almost a week has passed since a major deal in American sports made headlines, surpassing $6 billion in value. And while that massive transaction might seem far removed from the hardwood of the NBA, its ripple effects could reach right into the heart of one of the league's most formidable rosters, the Boston Celtics. The big question that looms now is whether the Celtics, with their current starting five of Jrue Holiday, Derek White, Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, and Kristaps Porzingis, can realistically hold on to their championship ambitions heading into next season. Can they keep this group intact, or are they heading for a painful retool? Celtics fans have enjoyed 2 thrilling seasons of elite basketball, with standout performances and playoff success putting Boston back in the spotlight as a title contender. But the NBA's new financial framework, particularly changes in the collective bargaining agreement and the rising luxury tax implications, is forcing front offices across the league to rethink how much talent they can afford. The Celtics are now caught between maintaining a super team and managing the harsh reality of financial penalties. Let's put it this way. If you're a Celtics fan, how nervous are you right now? On a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being totally relaxed, 10 being panic mode every game, where do you stand? Because things are getting real. Heading into the 2025 season, the NBA salary cap is expected to rise by around 10%, which sounds like great news. But don't let that fool you. The critical number everyone's watching is the so-called second tax apron, set at approximately $27.8 million above the luxury tax threshold. And here's the catch. If a team breaches that second apron for 2 straight years, serious consequences follow. We're talking about losing future draft picks, restricted trade flexibility, and a host of other limitations designed to penalize big spenders. And guess what? The Boston Celtics are already well over that line. Currently, the team has committed around $225 million in total salaries, including rotation players like Sam Hauser, Peyton Pritchard, and the veteran Al Horford. This figure places them nearly $23 million above the second tax apron for next season, an issue that cannot be ignored. So, something's got to give. To meet the financial constraints, the Celtics will need to trim their payroll. That was always going to be the price of having 5 top-tier players on massive contracts. It's also why no other team in the league has attempted to replicate this strategy. It's simply too expensive. Boston has 2 of the highest-paid players in the league, and surrounding them with 3 other star-level contributors doesn't come cheap. As next season approaches, rumors have already started circulating about possible trades. The front office may be forced to consider moving one of their core players, not necessarily because of performance, but because the financial math just doesn't work. That possibility brings a level of uncertainty that makes even the most confident Celtics fan a bit uneasy. There's real concern that this team, built to win now, could be broken up before it even has the chance to chase back-to-back titles. The names being floated as potential trade pieces aren't surprising. Jrue Holiday is in his 30s and has seen a dip in production this season. While he remains a defensive stalwart and a proven playoff performer, he also represents a significant salary cap hit. Then there's Kristaps Porzingis. His talent is undeniable when healthy, but he has a checkered injury history and isn't under contract through 2026. Moving either of these players would hurt, no doubt. But if the front office wants to avoid future penalties and keep their flexibility intact, tough decisions might be on the horizon. If it came down to it, which player would you rather see traded to free up cap space? That's a conversation more and more Celtics fans are starting to have. Because with the team being over $20 million above the second tax apron, something drastic may be required to get things under control. And let's not forget the bigger picture. New ownership is stepping in, and with that comes a new vision, new priorities, and potentially new strategies. That kind of transition often leads to changes on the roster, especially when there's so much money involved. Even if the Celtics manage to shed some salary, it doesn't mean they're out of the game. There's still a chance the team could swing a major trade and bring in another big name. And yes, the speculation about Kevin Durant has resurfaced once again. The Celtics and KD have been linked in rumors dating back to 2019, and every offseason it feels like a new scenario is floated for how the superstar could end up in Boston. Recently, new reports have reignited the chatter. especially with Durant's current situation in Phoenix looking increasingly uncertain. He reportedly expressed dissatisfaction before this season even began, and with the Suns underperforming, the idea of him requesting another move seems more plausible than ever. The idea of Durant heading east, possibly to the reigning champions, has once again found its way into NBA discussions. But hold on a second. How realistic is this, really? First off, remember what happened when Durant joined Golden State? The backlash was intense. He was called everything from snake to sellout, despite helping the Warriors win titles. Now imagine that narrative repeating itself if he were to join the Celtics, a team that may be defending a championship when all is said and done this season. Would Durant really want to go down that road again? And there's the money. Durant is owed around $54 million per year through 2026. Boston already has 2 players set to make north of $50 million next season. That's a huge chunk of the salary cap. For this to work, the Celtics would not only have to clear a ton of cap space, but they'd also need to stay under the second tax apron to avoid losing trade rights and future assets. That's a tall order. Any deal involving Durant would require surgical precision. First, contracts totaling over $30 million would need to be moved out. Second, the team would need to remain under the penalty line, which, as we've discussed, is already a serious challenge. And third, you'd have to weigh whether it's worth breaking up the chemistry of this squad just to chase another big name, even one as legendary as KD. On top of that, both Phoenix and Boston would need to be aligned on such a blockbuster move. It's not just about fit or talent. It's about finances, timing, and long-term planning. Durant is still one of the best scorers in the league, no doubt. But his age, injury history, and massive contract complicate everything. Right now, with only a handful of games left in the regular season, the Celtics are focused on the immediate goal, winning another championship. Bringing in someone like Durant mid-season or even in the summer could throw off that rhythm, especially when the team already brought back 13 of the 15 players from last year's title-winning roster. That kind of continuity is rare in today's NBA and could be the key to another deep playoff run. But things are changing. With new ownership, the financial pressure of the second apron, and the constant swirl of trade rumors, nothing feels guaranteed anymore. The Celtics have built something special, but sustaining it might prove to be the hardest part. Beyond the financial strain and roster logistics, the emotional weight of potential changes looms large over the Celtics fan base. This is a team that has built real chemistry, a culture of resilience, and a rhythm that's hard to replicate. Fans have rallied behind this group, seen them fight through tough playoff battles, and witnessed the emergence of Tatum and Brown as true franchise cornerstones. Breaking that up, even slightly, feels like a betrayal of everything that's been built. And yet, loyalty doesn't always align with practicality in the business of basketball. This is the reality of the modern NBA. Teams can no longer afford to keep talent stacked without consequence. The league's new rules are designed to spread the wealth, to force parity, and to discourage the creation of super teams through sheer financial power. The Celtics are already an outlier. The question is how long they can remain one. Let's not forget the sheer numbers here. Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown are each set to earn over $50 million annually very soon. Add Porzingis, Holiday, and White, and you're dealing with one of the most expensive lineups in NBA history. It's not just about the luxury tax anymore. It's about the second apron, a hard stop that slashes your ability to make roster moves, penalizes your flexibility, and chips away at your future. There's no sneaking around it. This might be why we're seeing the Celtics front office already start to lay the groundwork for potential moves. Discussions are happening behind closed doors. Scenarios are being drawn up on whiteboards. Executives are weighing who's truly untouchable and who could become a trade chip if the numbers don't align. And while these conversations haven't hit the public stage yet, make no mistake, they're happening. Meanwhile, external speculation continues to swirl. The idea of Kevin Durant in green and white has returned, mostly fueled by Phoenix's struggles and his apparent discontent. But while it's fun to imagine KD pulling up from deep in TD Garden, the logistics are nightmarish. You'd have to clear upwards of $30 million in cap space, negotiate with a tough Suns front office, and disrupt a roster that's already championship caliber. It's not impossible, but it's far from simple. And given Boston's current situation, it may not even be desirable. The idea of adding a player like Durant feels like a dream, but sometimes dreams come with a cost that's just too high. His fit on the court is undeniable. His scoring, his playoff experience, his leadership, he brings all of it. But you don't get that kind of firepower without giving up serious pieces in return. Holiday? Gone. Porzingis? Probably. Maybe even more. That's not just losing talent. That's tearing apart a team identity that's been carefully constructed over the years. And that brings us to a bigger point: continuity. It's one of the most underrated aspects of championship teams. It's not just about talent. It's about trust, timing, and knowing exactly where your teammate will be when you're in the corner with 5 seconds on the clock. Boston has that now. Would Durant's presence enhance it or disrupt it? That's the gamble. All of this, of course, plays out while the Celtics are barreling toward another postseason run. With only a handful of regular season games left, the focus right now is squarely on getting back to the finals. The team has proven it can win, it can defend, it can execute in clutch moments. But that lingering uncertainty about finances, about roster stability, about future trades, sits in the background like a shadow. It doesn't disappear, even when the lights are the brightest. And that's the tightrope the Celtics are walking. They're chasing greatness while trying not to fall off the edge financially. They're trying to win now without sabotaging their future. It's a near impossible balance. And yet, that's what separates good franchises from great ones. So what happens next? That's the question on every fan's mind. Will the front office make a bold move this summer? Will they stay the course and bet on the group they've assembled? Or will a surprise trade shake up the East and send shockwaves across the league? Whatever comes, one thing is certain. The Boston Celtics are in a defining moment. This is where legacies are shaped, not just for players, but for decision-makers. Every choice will echo through seasons to come. And whether it leads to another banner or a painful reset, the ride promises to be unforgettable. But before we continue, please remember to subscribe to the channel and give the video a like. Your support helps us keep bringing you the latest news about the Boston Celtics. Feel free to share your thoughts on the news in the comments as well. As the NBA season heats up, a buzz is circulating in Boston about a potential game-changing acquisition for the Celtics. Imagine the impact of Karl-Anthony Towns, one of the league's most versatile and dominant big men, joining the storied franchise. The current chatter isn't just a mere rumor. It's the possibility of a seismic shift in the Celtics lineup. Towns, a 5-time All-Star and former NBA three-point contest champion, has established himself as one of the most dynamic forces in basketball. Could Boston's front office pull off the unthinkable and bring Towns to the TD Garden? The potential trade could reshape the Celtics' championship aspirations, and the stakes are sky high. Towns, who was traded to the New York Knicks earlier this season, has shown he can perform under pressure, putting up staggering numbers, including 44 points and 13 rebounds in a win over the Miami Heat. His ability to stretch the floor as a center and his rebounding prowess would complement the Celtics' already potent roster. But with his current stint in New York making waves, would he consider a move to Boston to further cement his legacy as an NBA champion? A key point of speculation surrounds the Knicks' future plans and Towns' fit within their roster. With his remarkable performances this season, including an impressive 46-point game in November and a dominant 44-point outing in February, Towns has certainly raised his stock. However, some believe that Towns may be seeking a more competitive environment to truly chase a title. The Celtics, currently at the top of the Eastern Conference, could offer that very opportunity. Will the Celtics' interest in Towns lead to a blockbuster trade that could shake the balance of the NBA? For Boston, acquiring Towns would be a major statement of intent. The Celtics are no strangers to making big moves, and pairing Towns with Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown could create one of the most formidable frontcourts in the league. Towns' ability to score both inside and from the perimeter would make the Celtics nearly impossible to defend. But how would this acquisition affect the chemistry of a team that already boasts a solid core? The move could be the missing piece. Boston needs to finally clinch their 18th championship, but it's not without its risks. As the NBA trade deadline approaches, the Celtics front office faces a pivotal decision. Can they pull off the deal that would bring Towns to Boston? With so many variables at play, from the Knicks' long-term vision to Towns' own ambitions, this story is far from over. The next few weeks could determine if this tantalizing possibility becomes a reality or if Towns continues his journey with the Knicks. Stay tuned. This trade saga is far from finished. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to keep receiving exclusive news about the Boston Celtics, please subscribe to our channel and give the video a like. We always appreciate your comments and opinions. See you in the next video.